What could have been the 2016-2017 Miami Heat? Well, based off a recent report, Erik Spolstra is on the record to have reached out to Kevin Durant. Yes, Kevin Durant before he went and united with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green to create what was that super team, that 73-9 super team out in Golden State. We'll break down that report on this episode of Heat Digest, where we create daily Miami Heat content. So if that interests you, subscribe to the channel, as 84% of you guys currently watching this video are not currently subscribed to the channel. We're on the road to 1,400 subscribers and really just want to grow this channel to have a real Miami Heat community around it. So if that is you and that interests you, subscribe to the channel. And now, but let's get to it and break down this massive report, how getting Durant to Miami was in the cards, if you will, back in 2016 as we went into the 2016-2017 season. Now, here is the report from yesterday saying, this is from NBA Central, the Dunk Central on Twitter, a great analyst, a great source, if you will. Report, Erik Spoelstra told Kevin Durant in 2016 that the Heat could, and I quote, unlock his efficiency, end of quote, just as they did with LeBron James. Now, if you click on this picture of Kevin Durant and LeBron James, it will take you to an article written by Heat Nation where it just goes on to write a very small piece about how Erik Spoelstra presented a PowerPoint to Kevin Durant in really just this way to pitch an idea of coming and joining the Miami Heat. Now, obviously, that did not happen, but here are the numbers from Kevin Durant, but here are the teams that he would have, or the team he would have been joining, that 2016-2017 Miami Heat team that was not great on paper, to say the least. They did not perform all that well either during the regular season, but again, overall, a great amount of players on this team, great role players for the Miami Heat, including James Johnson, Tyler Johnson, Josh McRoberts, Willie Reed, Josh Richardson, Dion Waiters, Hassan Whiteside, Justice Winslow, Luke Babbitt, and Goran Dragic, along with others, including Udonis Haslem and Wayne Ellington. Obviously, this roster does not jump out on paper, as it obviously was not the greatest Miami Heat team ever assembled. But again, if we were to think that Kevin Durant were to end up in a Miami Heat jersey, obviously things would have been handled a hell of a lot different, and other players, including superstars, probably would have been leaning towards landing in South Beach as well to possibly play alongside someone in Kevin Durant. Now, remember, the Miami Heat had just got rid of Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James had just went back to Cleveland just years prior after that stretch of finals runs for this Miami Heat team. So it's not like the Miami Heat were not accustomed to deep playoff runs and championship expectations. It was just, it seemed like we had gone through our little stretch of our dynasty type of run, and then everyone was kind of fuddling out, and we're in that rebuilding era, if you will. Kevin Durant would have been a hell of a player to add to a rebuilding team, as if you look here are his stats. I have a better visual. This is obviously from ESPN. The only reason I did include this one off of Basketball Reference is because if you look all the way to the right, it shows the awards that they were either in the running for or flat out won. And for Kevin Durant, no slight of awards presented to Kevin Durant. Obviously, in 2007, 2008, he did win the Rookie of the Year. He then came in third place for Most Improved. But the following years after that, MVP runner-up after MVP runner-up, including an MVP one back in 2013, 2014, where he was a part of the 50-40-90 club and averaged 32 points per game. He was absolutely spectacular. If you notice here, right next to the dates on the farthest left-hand side, you see the little silhouette, if you will, of the star. Every star you see is an all-star appearance. Kevin Durant was a running all-star from 2009 to the 2010 season up until the current season. Now, obviously, in the 2019-2020 season, he did not play due to an Achilles injury, so he does not have any stats, let alone an all-star appearance there. But again, Kevin Durant, in these stretch of years, especially from that 2015, 2016, 2017 season, this kid was the best player on the planet. If he was not the number one player, he was number 2 or 3, and 3 is stretching it to say the least. This guy was an automatic bucket. There was not a damn thing you could do about it, unless obviously you went up 3-1 in a playoff series, as we saw the Golden State Warriors do in that 2015-2016 season. Now, obviously, we do know the Thunder won the first three of the first 4 games, going up 3-1 over the Golden State Warriors before the historic 3-1 comeback by the Golden State Warriors that would end up beating these Oklahoma City Thunder. That, yes, were absolutely loaded. They had Andre Robinson, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant. They had Nick Collison. They had Anthony Morrow. They had a bunch of Thabo Sefolosha was also on that team. Serge Ibaka was on that team. I believe Kendrick Perkins may have been his last year in Oklahoma City. It was a created roster on 2K. At least that's the way it felt. And he obviously opted out of leaving that team, and he ended up on this team as follows. Obviously, this is the 2016-2017 roster from the Golden State Warriors. And this team, again, I said the Oklahoma City team was a created roster on 2K. This is not even a real thing. This is the roster that went 73-9. Matt Barnes, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, Kevin Looney, JaVale McGee, Zaza Pachulia, Klay Thompson, Harrison Varejao, and David West. And I am leaving out a few, but again, the names I have mentioned were not legends in the game of basketball, but they were great players for years and years in the game of basketball for whatever respected team they were playing on at the time. And again, adding Kevin Durant to a team that was already good, a team that was already in the playoffs, obviously, as it was the team that bounced Kevin Durant the year prior. And Kevin Durant was sick and tired of losing. He had gotten close. He'd gotten to the finals, lost to the Miami Heat with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh in that big three of a team. Obviously, he came back year after year with that Westbrook, Harden, Serge Ibaka, Sefolosha, Andre Robinson, all these great players. And obviously, that roster changed throughout the years. But again, they were still combative. They were still very competitive in the Western Conference. It just never resulted in an NBA championship, and a lot of it had to do with Steph Curry. So because of that, obviously we know Kevin Durant went and joined that Golden State Warrior team to create the dynasty that was that 73-9 team, a record that I don't believe will ever be broken in the next foreseeable future, at least to say. And obviously, he did not result in landing in Miami, but could you imagine? Obviously, the roster we would have surrounded him with was not great. And obviously, I have the roster here from the year prior to the year of us possibly landing Durant. So this would be the 2015-2016 season. This is what the Miami Heat roster was assembled like, and this is no slight of names. This team was absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, this is after we lost LeBron James, but again, no slight of a team, as we had Chris Anderson, the Birdman, Chris Bosh, Mario Chalmers, Luol Deng, the longtime Bull, came and joined the Miami Heat. Goran Dragic, a phenomenal point guard for the Miami Heat for many, many years. Gerald Green, Udonis Haslem, Joe Johnson, ISO Joe, one of the most certified bucket getters in the entire league. Tyler Johnson, one of the best role players the Miami Heat have had in a long time. This was his second year in the league at this time. This is before he obviously went to Brooklyn and then shit the bed. And then everyone questioned how the Miami Heat got so much out of their role players. Just an explicit example. Josh McRoberts, Josh Richardson, Amari Stoudemire, a name that a lot of people forget, played for the Miami Heat. Dwayne Wade, obviously, right before he went to Cleveland/Chicago. And then finally Hassan Whiteside and Justice Winslow with Darrell Wright. A absolutely ridiculous team for the Miami Heat. Obviously, that was the year before we made the pitch to Kevin Durant. And then obviously, like we already addressed, Luke Babbitt, Wayne Ellington, James Johnson, Tyler Johnson. This team, flat out on paper, was not great. I will say Dion Waiters was one of those players on Oklahoma City Thunder, and we ended up landing Dion Waiters. He was a good player for us, but again, dealt with a lot of injuries, wasn't on the court a whole lot, but when he was, the dude knew how to score, and that's what we got from Dion Waiters. It just was not a great sample size, if you will. And not really the player we were aiming for, obviously, as landing Kevin Durant is always the number one option, it seems like, especially in a year where we knew Kevin Durant was going to be moving. We knew he was going to be on the move. He wasn't going to be in Oklahoma City for that much longer. And Erik Spolstra, obviously, being the great coach, the guru of basketball that he is, he threw out the idea. He pitched the idea, and I quote, unlock his efficiency. Now, obviously, we had just watched LeBron James come and go from Miami. He came. We went to multiple finals appearances. We lost to really good teams in Dallas, San Antonio. We had great battles against the Boston Celtics, the Chicago Bulls, the Indiana Pacers with Danny Granger and Paul George. Those teams were so much fun to watch, and to watch the Miami Heat really not only persevere and battle their way through, but really learn year after year. Because if you remember watching that 2011 team against the Dallas Mavericks and then watching them come back in that 2012, 2013 year, it was drastically different. And the Miami Heat really showed that they learned a lot. And LeBron James at the front of the race for the Miami Heat, at the helm of the team for the Miami Heat, obviously with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh alongside of him, with a great set of role players and a great coaching staff with Erik Spolstra at the helm. Obviously, it seemed like really every superstar should want to play in South Beach, especially in a stretch of years where we were really, if we weren't winning the championship, we were involved in the championship, if not a deep playoff run year after year. So again, just a funny piece of news. Maybe these talks respark again once this season ends for this Miami Heat team, as Phoenix just got swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves led by Anthony Edwards, who I think is surely going to be the face of the league in the next 8 months, at most 8 months, as this kid is something special. But this topic of conversation is Kevin Durant. Maybe we go out, maybe Erik Spoelstra pitches an idea to him. Maybe Durant's upset about the Phoenix Suns experience and maybe he needs out. Maybe the Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Nurkic, and Kevin Durant really experiment did not work to go as planned. Maybe he comes down to South Beach. Maybe we put him next to Bam Adebayo, put him at the 4 and run not the biggest lineup in the world, but the most hybrid, the most amphibious lineup in the world. That would be a very, very fun moment for this Miami Heat team. I couldn't imagine. Maybe Erik Spoelstra has that in the back of his mind and he knows this is lingering somewhere. And Durant may not be the happiest person in the world. So maybe, just maybe, he reaches back out and we pitch the idea once again. And Durant takes a little bit of a pay cut and comes down to South Beach to make another championship run, this time with the Miami Heat led by Erik Spoelstra. But again, that'll be it for this episode of Heat Digest. Thought this would be just a quick, fun little video to get out about Kevin Durant and possibly stir up the rumors of him possibly coming back, or possibly coming to the Miami Heat, this time for sure after this season. Again, just an idea. Let me know down in the comments, would you guys like the idea of Durant playing alongside Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo in the starting lineup for this Miami Heat team? I think it would look fantastic, and it would obviously be a joy to watch, and we would not have to worry about our half-court offense or offense in general anymore with a certified bucket getter at someone who scores 28 in their sleep in Kevin Durant. But again, that'll be it for this episode of Heat Digest. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.